Hello artists, welcome back to the art room. Mrs. Lee over here. This week we're going to be creating a look of stained glass on paper. Here's the supplies. If you have paper, you could use crayons and colored pencils with it. If you have Sharpies handy or some other form of permanent marker, then you could use Sharpies and wax paper for this project. Wax paper is something that you would find in a kitchen. We will put it under cookies if we don't want them to stick to something, or maybe as we're wrapping something to put it in the freezer. You only need a small sheet of wax paper, nothing too large. And you do have to have permanent markers. Regular markers won't work on it. They'll just wipe right off. So permanent markers and wax paper, or regular paper and your coloring supply. Everybody needs a pair of scissors. Grab those supplies, we'll get started. This week we saw an interview with artist Debbie Tucker, who worked with stained glass. She creates beautiful works of art from colored glass and metal. This week we don't have glass or metal, but we're going to create something that kind of looks like it, and we're going to be using radial symmetry. Radial simply means circular. Symmetry simply means the same. So if you think about a butterfly's wings, they are the same on both sides. They are symmetrical, but they're not circular, right? Here's an example of radial symmetry that I actually saw there in the studio when I was interviewing Miss Tucker. This is a sun, and it is round, and it's symmetrical. It has these rays coming off the different sides of this circle. It's all around a center point. Here's what I mean by that. One center point and one pattern. Here's my center point, and it continues to repeat all the way around till it creates a pattern. I'm going to be showing you simultaneously how to do this with paper and wax paper. It's pretty much the same thing with a few little hints that are different. You only need half a sheet of paper, and probably I only need about half of this wax paper, so I'm going to cut this in half too. You don't need very much for this project. We're going to make it small so that you don't have to rush and you have plenty of time to get it colored in. All right, so if you did the origami lesson, this will look familiar. I'm going to take the corner of my paper and fold it over. I just want to get a nice square for my artwork. So I'm going to cut off the remainder, and now I have a square. Same with my wax paper. I'm going to take a corner, I'm going to fold it over, and cut off the edge that's left over. All right, so now we have created a square. If you want to use a ruler, you sure can. This is about 4 or 5 inches on each side if you wanted to measure and cut. All right, so now we need to fold our paper so that we can begin our radial pattern. We're going to start by folding it in a triangle. All right, so here was fold 1. Here is fold 2, corner to corner, and here is fold 3. This whole time I made sure that I knew where my center point is that I'm going to radiate from. Let me show you that again with the wax paper. So I folded 1. I'm going to put my finger here in the center. I'm folding 2. And one more time, I'm folding 3. I like to have this center point facing me so that I remember what the center of my artwork is going to be. Since we're going with this radial type design, I'm sticking with the sun theme. Let me fold this up and show you again. This is actually what the pattern's going to be. We're only going to put the pattern on one section, and then we're going to copy it, and each time we copy it, it's going to increase our pattern until we filled up our whole paper with it. Okay, so here's what it looks like in one section. This is all we're going to be designing, one section of our picture. I used some straight lines here on this one. Let me show you the one section on this guy. This one I used a wavy line. So that gives you an idea of what it'll look like when you open it up. So let's see, for this one, I'm gonna do just a curved line, but I like to add double. I'm gonna do 2 curved lines. And then think about how you want your rays coming off the sun. So you could do something straight like this. You could do something more wavy like that. Let it go right off the edge of your paper. That's fine, it's gonna meet up on the other side. Add another wave to this side, and that would be my pattern. And let's see, over here I'll do this wavy line again, and let's see, I think I'll just do some straight lines off the edge of this one. All right, simple as can be, right? Okay, so now it's time to start tracing. I think this is a kind of a fun part. I'm going to put a sheet of paper under here so you can see. My friends using wax paper, this will be kind of how it works for you. My friends who are using paper, I'll give you a couple of hints. It's the same idea, but I'll give you a couple of hints. So for my wax paper, I have one of my 8 sections, or 1/8 of my pattern done. I'm going to simply fold my paper, and then it's kind of nice because the pattern shows through. I'm going to copy it as I go around. All right, there we go. All around the edges, see the radial from the center point, the design radiates, and it's symmetrical because it's same all the way around. If you're using paper, you might want to go over your design in a marker or your black coloring supply, whatever coloring supply you're using, just so that it shows through a little more. So here you have it. Here's 1/8 of your pattern that you've drawn. You're going to simply fold your paper over. You can even see through the video that you can see the pattern coming through with a marker, and you're going to trace it. All right, sometimes paper is a little more tricky than it's going to be with the wax paper, but you can take it over to a window, put it up against the window, and you can see the color through it a little more. So I'm going to go do that for mine too. All right, so we've got our design copied. All that's left is to color it in. Have fun with that. There's many different ways you could go about it. I'll look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. If you have time, you know, I would love to see your artwork. Take a picture and send it to me on email. And I'll see you guys back here again next week in the art room.